Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Dr. Donald Pelto, and I have the pleasure of having Tom Ingrassia here today. Um,
Hi, Don.
Author, motivational coach, everything like that. So,
Yeah,
welcome to the show.
thank you. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, I see you brought something to show me here. One of
I
your books. We're
did.
going to talk about a lot of things, but why don't you start out telling the audience a little bit about your journey? How did you kind of get into coaching and everything that you do?
Well, everything that I do today, Don, is a reflection of my own life experience. And I spent 25 years working in higher education administration.
Okay.
As I look back on that now, I was always in some capacity where I was helping people to achieve their goals through academic advising, career counseling, student services, those kinds of things. So that has always been part of who I am. And actually, as I look back even further, even since I was a child, I've always kind of seen myself in that role of helping people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I also had dreams as well. And one of the dreams that I had, which some people would kind of look and say, "Wait a minute, what is it that you really wanted to do?" When I was 11 years old, back in the mid 1960s, I fell in love with show business.
Really?
I did, and I fell in love with show business through the music of Motown,
Mm-hmm.
which we can talk a little bit about a little bit later as well. And I had this dream that somehow I was going to connect with show business. I tried out for the chorus at school. The choral director said, "You're not good enough for the chorus. What makes you think you can sing?" I tried out for the band. The band director said, "What makes you think you can play the trumpet? You're not good enough." So for many years, I kind of carried that baggage around with me that I wasn't good enough, that I didn't have the skills to take me in life where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I never let go of those dreams. And it was very interesting because when I was in college in the early 1970s, I had the opportunity to interview Mary Wilson from the Supremes.
Hmm.
And that, at that point, that was my dream come true because that is what I had always dreamed of doing, of meeting the Supremes,
Yeah.
somehow connecting with them. And it was through Mary Wilson that I really started to cultivate the idea that, wait a minute, yeah, I can do all these things that I've dreamed about doing, even though for some people they seem far-fetched, even though for some people it might seem like a crazy notion. She nurtured in me that sense that dreams do come true, and that if you really have the passion and if you have the perseverance to pursue your dreams until the ultimate outcome, they can come true. Well, the way that manifested for me was about 18 years ago. Now, this is while I was still working in higher education.
Okay.
I was the assistant dean of the business school at Clark University at the time. So, a very
That's a
good
good
job,
job.
very good job, very prestigious position. Mary Wilson actually offered me a job working for her as her creative director.
Wow.
And I went into my office at Clark University the next day and told my boss, "I'm leaving. I have this opportunity, and I don't mean that I'm giving you a month's notice. I'm leaving today because the job starts tomorrow."
This is what I wanted.
What for me held me back for so long is going back to that childhood,
Yeah.
those childhood times when I was told I wasn't good enough because I didn't have performing skill. Well, suddenly I realized that, okay, yes, maybe I'm not good enough to be a performer as I had originally dreamed. However, people in show business need managers. They need business people. I had those skills. And that was my entree into this
Wow.
world.
Wow.
And so that's what opened everything up for me. And I said, if I can do this, anybody can do this. But I realized that you needed to have that person behind you giving you that little shove and saying,
Yeah.
yes, you can do this. So that's how I got to where I am today. It all goes back to a fateful night in 1964 when I was watching television, saw this Motown group, the Supremes, that I fell in love with, and it just all evolved from
Interesting.
there.
And so people, a lot of times, there's all these videos they can watch, of coaches talking. There are books they can get about coaching. Can people do it themselves? Do they need a coach? What's your opinion? Who was your coach, or did you have one?
Well, I think it takes a very extraordinary person to be able to coach themselves. And I
Okay.
have met some people who can do that. But you really have to be hard on yourself. And most of us really, I think, don't have the ability to be hard on ourselves. You need someone to hold you accountable. And you know, for us as individuals, if we're trying to do it ourselves, you know, we set a goal for ourselves. Well, what happens? Life gets in the way.
Yep.
You know, okay, today I'm going to accomplish this step toward my goal. Well, I've got to get the kids to soccer practice. I've got to get, you know, I got to get the kids to music lessons. I have to go to work. I have to make dinner. I have to mow the lawn. You know, I have to do all these things. And the things that are really important to us get pushed to the back burner and pushed and pushed and pushed away. That's the beauty of having a coach or having someone close
Even
enough to you
yeah.
who is
Your
going
cheerleader
to,
almost.
a cheerleader almost, but who, you know, who also is going to hold your feet to the fire
Yeah.
and say, okay, you set this goal. What have you done this week to progress toward your goal?
Yeah.
How, you know, what steps have you taken, and not let you let other things get in
the
your
way.
You know, because again, I go back to as an individual. How often do we as individuals just take time to sit back and think about, you know, what's important to me? What are my goals, my dreams, my hopes,
don't.
my aspirations? We don't, because there's so much else going on around us. We can't take that step back from the hustle and bustle, the rush of daily life. And that's where having a coach is a really valuable investment in your future, because that, you know, if you have a good coach, the good coach is going to really ask you the hard questions, is going to hold your feet to the fire, but also is going to say, yes, it's possible. You can do this. Now, what is your plan? And should be able to help you work out that step-by-step, what I like to call a roadmap to get you from where you are to where you want to be. It's hard to do that on your own.
Yeah, especially the accountability portion.
Exactly, yes.
And so let's talk, it's curious, so in terms of a typical coaching, is it group coaching, individual coaching, how often, is everyone different?
Everyone is different, and I do primarily individual coaching. Group coaching can be effective, but I prefer to do one-on-one coaching. That's just what I'm more comfortable with, and I like to really delve into my clients' background, again, what it is they want to achieve in life, and really get to know that person. But it's different for everyone. For some clients, it's a weekly meeting. For some clients, it may be once a month. Eventually, as you get more deeply into that process and you begin to get more clarity into what it is you want to achieve, and you have that plan, then it's a little bit easier to go about it yourself. And so then, I might see a client every other month, check in with them by phone, in between face-to-face meetings. I do some online coaching, some FaceTime coaching that can be very effective. But I really prefer sitting right next to the person, like you and I are sitting right now, so that I can kind of look into your eyes, which I feel is like looking into your soul, and I can really get more of a sense of who you are as a person and what it is that is important to you.
And if people I'm sure a lot of our listeners here on the TV program, they've heard about coaches. It seems like all the vogue today is having your own coach, a life coach, a health coach, a personal coach. What should someone be looking at in terms of what are the qualities you want to find in a person? Are there certain degrees they need to have? Are there certain experiences? Or is there one coach for everyone?
There really isn't, and a lot of it, Don, again, depends on what it is you want to get out of the coaching process. And so it's very important, both for me as a coach and for you as a client, to kind of interview each other initially to make sure that your goals...
It's a good fit.
It's a good fit, so that your goals and my expertise are a good fit, a good match. Whether or not the person has degrees, certifications, I don't think that's as important. Again, my coaching really all comes from my own experience. For me, that's important to have. Is to have that experiential background, because I can sit with someone and say, all right, this was my experience. This is how I faced that challenge. How can you face the challenge that you're facing? How can you adapt that to face what it is you want to accomplish and where you want to be. So it's important to have that good fit But again, it all comes back to what it is that you want to get out of the coaching process. The other part of it too, Don, is you as a client, you have to be ready and open to that coaching process. It's like with anything. If you're not ready to engage actively in the process, and if you're not ready to really take that hard, deep look inside yourself, you can have the best coach in the world, and it's not going to work. Yeah. You really have to be open to the process. You have to be open to making changes in your life, and that for a lot of people, that process of change, that's very hard. But that's what the coaching process is all about. Because if you want to achieve a different outcome in your life, you have to make changes in your life to achieve that different outcome. You can't expect to achieve a new outcome by doing the same things over and over again.
That's wonderful. You know, Tom, you're always so inspirational talking, and I think a lot of times people that are going to be watching this, they want to learn more. And I know that you have some information, probably a website, and you have this book that you brought in. I'd like you to tell people a little bit about this book that you're putting together and kind of what's coming next.
Sure. Well, this actually the book, Don, is called One Door Closes: Overcoming Adversity by Following Your Dreams, and it's a book that I wrote with my business partner and best friend Jared Krudimsky, and it's a very interesting story how the book came about, because it also is an example of how you really make things happen for yourself. I've probably had this book locked up inside of me for about 20 years. I knew I had, because people have told me over and over, as you just did, about how inspired they feel.
Yeah.
And so I had this notion that I wanted to write a book, a motivational book to inspire people, but it was locked inside of me. I couldn't get it out. I didn't know how to go about doing that. When Jared and I met about 10 years ago, he got me into running, which is also another whole part of my story. He got me into running, and on our early morning runs, we would talk to each other about what our goals were. We were kind of each other's accountability buddies, what our goals were. And I said one morning, Jared, I want to write this book, but I don't know how to go about it. And he said, well, wait a minute, Tom, I want to write a book too. How about if we write it together? And so we started talking about it, and we just kept talking in circles for about a year and a half, and just saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to write the book. Yeah, we'll start next month." And for about a year and a half, nothing happened. Finally, on New Year's Eve of 2012, Jared and I were running that morning, and I said, "Okay, Jared, if we don't commit to writing this book right now, it's not going to happen. This book has to come out within the next year." And without a moment's hesitation, he said, okay, how about One Door Closes: Overcoming Adversity by Following Your Dreams as the title? And for me, Don, that was like the key that opened the door and unlocked everything. All of a sudden, everything fell into place, and I knew how this book was going to come together. And so what One Door Closes is about, it's the stories of 16 people from all walks of life who had to overcome some pretty major adversities and challenges in their lives to get to where they are today, to achieve their dreams. People who had traumatic brain injury, who had throat cancer, who had other forms of very rare cancer, unemployment, domestic abuse, any kind of adversity you might be able to think of is in this book.
Wow.
And I think that's the universality of One Door Closes, because there's something in here for everybody. And what each of the 16 people do in their chapter is to share what their adversity was, how they overcame it, what they learned about themselves in the process, and then the wisdom they want to pass along to the reader to help you on your journey.
Yeah.
And from that perspective, it's very powerful. But Jared and I didn't want to just leave it there, because how often do you read an inspirational, a motivational book, and you get to the end of it, you're all fired up, and you say, wow, this is really great. What's in it now? Now, how do I do this?
Yeah.
But you don't really know how. So what we did with One Door Closes is the second half of the book is a series of 10 self-assessment tools.
Wonderful.
So you take what you've learned in the first part of the book, you complete the 10 self-assessments, and by the time you have finished One Door Closes, you have your own step-by-step blueprint for how you're going to achieve your goals. So it's really a call to action book. the stories are so powerful. I mean, we have had people come up to us after we've done programs about One Door Closes and tell us that this book has changed their life because they read someone's story and they thought they were the only one going through what this other person wrote about. But they read this other person's story. They read how this other person handled their situation, and they were able to get themselves back on track. Now, the exciting thing about One Door Closes is it's currently being adapted as a documentary film, which was another part of Jared's and my dream, because we knew there was so much power in this book that it needed to be something more than just the printed word. That we needed to capture some of these stories on film. And so we're taking 5 of the people who were profiled in One Door Closes and featuring them in this documentary film that should be in release by late 2020. And it's it's very exciting. And again, for me, just goes back to that notion that dreams do come true, that if you can dream it, you can do it.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And Tom, if people want to learn more about you, what's the website that they should look at?
The website, they can go to www.motivact.group.com. The name of my company is the Motivact Group, and that stands for Motivate to Activate.
Wonderful.
So it's motivactgroup.com. All the information is there. There's also contact information. There's a contact page, and that contact page comes directly to me. So if you send a contact through the website, you're going to get an answer directly.